Coming up in NBN News, Stockton locals send a clear message to build back the beach. Meanwhile, a woman faces court following the drowning of a 4-year-old girl, and the Knights in huge trouble following the loss to the Seagulls. That's coming up next on NBN News. Good afternoon, my name's Conklin McLeod with NBN News. This afternoon, 3,000 people take to Stockton with a clear message. A heavily intoxicated mother faces court up in Newcastle, and heartbreak for the Knights following their loss to the Seagulls. But first, more than 3,000 people took to Stockton yesterday with a clear message to authorities: do something. Dressed in red to represent a hazard erosion line for the town, the crowd, which included young Isaac Melha, issued a plea to decision makers to step up for Stockton and build back the beach. The people up at Stockton are making a desperate plea to protect them and their town amid fears for the future of their beach infrastructure and their homes. More than 3,000 people, children and dogs, lined the kilometre-long breakwalk at the Red Line rally at Stockton Beach on Sunday. The community urged authorities to resolve a stalemate that has left people frustrated and angry that their beach's severe erosion problems have not been resolved. A plan to put sand back on the beach has been stalled for 2 years over a disagreement between the City of Newcastle and New South Wales Government over who should be responsible for the project. The crowd wore red, representing a hazard erosion line for the town that has become a clear and present danger. People held placards and wore t-shirts urging authorities to step up for Stockton, build back the beach, and less talk, more sand. Meanwhile, Stockton resident Christine Granger attended the rally with her 5 grandchildren. She wants them to experience the beach like other generations have. Mrs. Granger lives in the closest house to the breakwater where an erosion crisis is putting assets along the foreshore at risk. Stockton resident Willow Forsyth, organizer of the rally, said the Pashabolka storm had swells of 13 meters, but they're getting inundation at 7 meters. However, no suburb is built for that kind of inundation. They know the disaster they're facing. It's a catastrophic exposure. It's a clear and present danger. Meanwhile, Her message to the authorities was start filling it and start filling it fast. Get together, collaborate, sort out who has the skills, get an active team and get passionate, make it happen. The state government is thought to be willing to fund the offshore sand nourishment plan, but it wants the city of Newcastle to submit a mining license plan to extract the sand. A heavily intoxicated woman caused the drowning death of a 4-year-old girl when she capsized a kayak when they were fishing from off Mullaballa Point last year has just been heard right up at the Newcastle local court. 36-year-old Tamara Eaton and the young girl had never met before. They were paired up in a kayak in a protected waterway on the southern shore of the Courier River on June the 1st last year. But Eaton had in the early hours of that morning consumed a late amount of alcohol, and at some point at about 1:36 p.m. and 1:58 p.m. was trying to navigate back to shore when the kayak overturned. The young girl tragically drowned while Eaton managed to swim to shore. They were not wearing life jackets at the time. While Eaton managed to swim to shore, they were not wearing life jackets, according to an agreed statement of facts, despite the safety equipment being mandatory for anyone in a kayak. Eaton will later record a blood alcohol reading of 0.250, 5 times the legal blood alcohol limit. A forensic pharmacologist later opined that if Eaton's story about not drinking any more alcohol after the early hours of June 1 were true, then at the time the kayak overturned, she would have had a blood alcohol reading of at least 0.297. The court heard Eaton was serving a 10-month intensive corrections order for high-range drink driving at the time she caused the girl's death. Eaton was represented by solicitor advocate Monica Wilson when she appeared in Newcastle local court last week and pleaded guilty to a charge of aggravated culpable navigation causing death. The DPP applied to have her detained while she awaits sentencing under recent changes to the bail laws. But the detention application was ultimately refused by Magistrate Peter Feather. Eaton will next appear in Newcastle District Court next month and will face a maximum of 14 years in jail when she is sentenced later in the year. Singleton westbound lane of the New England Highway at Maitland has reopened more than a week after water flooded onto the thoroughfare. Traffic is now allowed to drive from East Maitland through to Rutherford. Eastbound lanes remain closed. The Maitland City Council said it would continue to provide updates as they become available. It comes after Cessnock Road at Gildston Heights also reopened to allow residents to leave the suburb that was trapped by flood water for more than a week. Police are appealing for information after a rider was thrown from his motorbike in a hit-and-run incident in Newcastle. Police say a BMW R1150 motorcycle was travelling south on Stewart Avenue near the intersection of Parry Street just after 6:30 p.m. on Friday when he was hit by a small white sedan, possibly a Toyota Yaris. The 25-year-old rider was flung from the motorcycle onto the roadway as the sedan continued travelling south on Stewart Avenue. The rider was treated at the scene and taken to John Hunter Hospital with shoulder and rib injuries. He remains in a stable condition. Police are appealing for anyone who witnessed the incident or has relevant dashcam vision to contact Newcastle Police or Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. Sports up next, as we'll have the MotoGP up next, and also drama at the night as they go down to the Manly Seagulls.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
Where can I go for great prices and quality bathroom items with names I know and trust?
This Thursday till Sunday, it's RDT's Vanity Sale. New arrivals, overstocks, deleted lines, everything in the store is reduced. All vanities heavily discounted. Elegant stone top, wall hung, coloured and ceramic top vanities. Budget buster vanities from $199. Plus over 30 new products on display. See the savings on rdt.net.au. Get the quality, the look, the store-wide savings. Renovators Discount Depot, 147 Newcastle Road, Walls End. Store quality, depot prices.
There was a few accidents that went on during the French Grand Prix for this year, and also plenty of disaster and also a lot of drama went on. And despite that, it was just one of the most disastrous of all time. But despite that, Bastianini managed to win the Le Mans GP. Speaking of a crash, there was a terrifying one that happened to Valentino Rossi 2 years ago. It also involved a few more. And also, that's what forced the Austrian Grand Prix that year to be red flagged. Still on motor racing, of course, and even though his V8 supercars career didn't last for long, of course, Casey Stoner is still remembered as one of the best bike riders. But remember this crash right up in 2013. It of course was dramatized. Of course, that left him in one of the worst spots of all time in Adelaide. Well, forget about the finals and watch out for the wooden spoon. That is the prognosis. The Newcastle Knights are facing after a 42-12 blowout against Manly at Brookvale on Saturday that torpedoed any realistic hopes of them sneaking into the playoffs. After 17 rounds, the Knights are languishing into 13th on the points tables with only 5 victories into their name. Even in the unimaginable scenario that they'll win all 7 of their remaining regular season fixtures, it might not be enough to secure a berth in the finals, given that there are already 8 teams who have banked 9 wins. There are more tangible goals in the weeks ahead should be simply be to salvage a modicum of respect from a disappointing campaign, and to stay above Canterbury, the Gold Coast and West Tigers on the ladder. They play all three of those teams in what shapes as a potential dogfight to avoid finishing in the competition cellar. Knights coach Adam O'Brien has steadfastly maintained in recent weeks that his team were capable of producing a late season Houdiniat, as they did last year. But after conceding 7 tries against Manly, he appeared resigned to the inevitable. Storm the heartbreaking loss, and just when they thought their run of injuries had largely come to an end, Newcastle have had 4 players with fresh concerns after the loss. Top of the list is winger Dom Young, who was shuffled out after sustaining a rib injury. Meanwhile, Edric Lee was forced to go because of injury. Also, Simi Sasagi left due to an arm injury. Also, Tyson Frizzell suffered an injury, but this time to his rib. But also, centre Bradman Best was the only top-flight regular missing after injuring his thumb last week. He has had surgery, but is expected to miss at least the next 2 games. State of Origin in New South Wales, Coach Brad Fittler has fumed. It is absolutely ridiculous. Blues centre Matt Burton was fined more than Queensland's Tino Fasamolai after their brawl in the decider, which of course was game number 3. Early in the first half, Dan Gagai knocked Burton to the ground and sparked in back play and sparked a punch up between the two. Both Burton and Gagai were each fined, but however avoided suspension. Penrith could have done what they couldn't do in their 2021 premiership campaign, overcoming the West Tigers 18-16 in a win without 7 of their representative stars. In contrast to last year, the Panthers emerged from the State of Origin period undefeated at Combank Stadium yesterday, despite resting their New South Wales players, Isaac Yoa, Brian Toa, Jerome Loy, Liam Martin, Abby Taylor, Stephen Christian and Nathan Cleary. There was a sense of deja vu as the Sydney Roosters prepare to overcome an alarming injury toll on Friday. Meanwhile, the season is over for Centre Roosters centre Billy Smith and second rower Satoli Toponoa after they suffered suspected serious knee injuries during Saturday's 54-26 thrashing of the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Meanwhile, Brisbane are seemingly set for an NRL Finals return under his match, but Broncos coach Kevin Walters insists playoffs haven't been disgust within the club. The once mighty Broncos haven't played finals football since a humiliation 58-0 qualifying final thumping by Parramatta in 2019. And also, the Broncos managed to secure a huge win over the Gold Coast Titans, 16 points to 12 on Saturday. Meanwhile, yesterday, the Canberra Raiders were just too good for the Melbourne Storm, 20-16. It was just spectacular for the Raiders, who managed to score in both the first and second half. Even though the Storm tried, but however, it wasn't enough. However, the Storm received a massive blow with their star Ryan Papenhuyzen out for the rest of the season due to injury. After the break, we'll have your local sport for Newcastle and the Hunter.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
I'm going to buy that.
Into big business now, are we?
Nope, I'm quite happy with the small business I own, Louise.
Who are you banking with now, Bob?
Newcastle Permanent.
No, I know. I mean, your company banking.
Yeah, we're with a firm.
Didn't know they did business banking.
Well, I have done for quite some time now, Dad.
Oh, good move.
That's mine. Thank you.
Your business is in good hands with Newcastle Permanent.
They're our building society.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
To rugby union, of course, in the Shute Shield, the Hunter Wildfires have their hands onto their first piece of silverware, the Sir Roden Cutler Shield. The Wildfires produced their most complete performance of the season. In power past Manly 27-19 to give the home side their first loss of the season on Saturday and take hold of the Shield. The Club Challenge Trophy can only be lost at home. The Marlins have been unbeaten at Manly Oval, including 5 successful defences of the Shield after wrestling it from Renwick with a 34-21 triumph at Coogee Oval in round 3. It was a different type of win by the Wildfires. They started on the front foot, defended well for long periods, didn't rely on their rolling mall as the main avenue to the try line. Halfback Nick Murray schemed on the edge of the ruck. Giant lock Rob Pulver rumbled forward and offloaded, while Joe Tamanil roamed a bit wider, and Connor Winchester and Will Feeney provided field position with long-range kicking games. Even at the home side threatened to win, but it was the Wildfires' effort without the ball that, of course, most pleased their coach. To Hunter Rugby and, of course, Maitland coach Luke Cunningham struggled to recall a better win, or a more important one. An undermanned Blacks burst out of the blocks and then hung on tight to hold out the Wanderers 27-12 at the number 2 sports ground on Saturday. The win was the Blacks' first in recent memory at the home ground of the two Blues and strengthened their hold on third. Meanwhile, at Strong Oval, Nelson Bay completed the comeback of the year to overhaul Merewether 21-20. While Hamilton overcame University 38-23. To soccer and in the Hunters NPL men's competition, and Valentine has secured a 2-1 win over Nearlampton. Also, what was also on, Western Edgeworth and Olympic also secured a victory. And of course, Edgeworth beat Lake Macquarie 4-1. Meanwhile, Western secured a 1-0 victory. Also, Newcastle Olympic beat Cooks Hill 4-1. In the Women's Premier League, Maitland secured a 4-1 win over Mid Coast, while Warners Bay secured a win over Nearlampton 12-0. Meanwhile, Broadmeadow secured a 3-1 win over Abbottstown. And of course, because of that, Charlestown's match had to be washed out on Saturday. Return to rugby league and the Newcastle competition. Central have secured a huge victory over the Macquarie Scorpions with a 30-16 win. Meanwhile, Lakes United defeated South Newcastle. Also, the entrants took down Western Suburbs. Meanwhile, it was much better for the Cessnock Goannas, who defeated Wyong 26-22. To ice hockey, the Newcastle North Stars have consolidated top spot on the Australian Ice Hockey League ladder after what Captain Liam Manwaring described as a character-building performance, moving to 36 points. The North Stars are now 7 clear of the third-placed Sydney Bears after defeating the same opponents at the Hunter Ice Skating Stadium on Saturday. Newcastle, who next have a doubleheader against nearest rivals the Brave in Canberra this weekend, also cemented their position in this year's finals series. They can no longer be knocked out of the top 4 over the closing stages of the season. Meanwhile, to basketball, and the Newcastle Falcons had to settle for a split in their NBL 1 East Conference weekend road trip, going down 95 to 68 to the Canberra Gunners up in right on Sunday after a 92 to 84 win over Albury. Meanwhile, good news for the good news for the Maitland Mustangs. They had to return to the winners list and returned back to the Hunter Valley after a week off due to the floods. And also, Newcastle's men and women will face the Central Coast Crusaders at Terrigal next Saturday. To hockey, and Oxford's coach Theo O'Sullivan has applauded a dominant display which saw them claim pole position in the Newcastle District Women's Hockey Association Premier League. Alice Tace, Neve Elliott and Lily Crockett all scored their maiden goals in the top grade as Oxford's defeated Norway Head 4-0 at the Newcastle International Hockey Centre on Saturday. Coupled with round 10 losses to Eagles and the Tigers, Oxford's now jumped those sides into first spot on the ladder. Meanwhile, fourth placed Souths now at the gap with the Tigers following a 4-1 win. Meanwhile, Gosford kept their finals aspirations alive with a 5-1 victory over the second place Regals. Central beat Uni 4-1 with Georgia Saratis finding the back of the net on debut. Meanwhile, in the Solomons Hunter Coast Premier Hockey League game, the Rolling brothers Ollie and Seb both scored as Souths beat the Rams 3-1 at Maitland on Sunday. Gosford and University didn't meet as planned, with the students struggling for player numbers. The fixture will be replayed at a later date. Up next, to local AFL, and of course Tim Osterhoff continued his profile season as Colonial extended their Black Diamond Cup winning streak with a 150 to 12 thrashing of Maitland on Saturday. Meanwhile, Oosterhof kicked a season high 14 goals in the win against Cardiff, and has now taken his season tally to 73 goals. In other the competition's most consistent sharpshooters, Harrison Pitt was on target as Turgal Avoca scored a 13.11 89-29 win against Warners Bay. Meanwhile, Newcastle City scored a crucial 87-67 win against Cardiff. Their victory lifted City to third on the ladder, ahead of Cardiff on percentages, while Singleton had the bye. To netball, and University coach Tracy Barber says Saturday's top-the-table clash with South was worthy of a grand final. University eventually prevailed 44-39 over South following a seesawing affair at Newcastle's National Park. The lead changed at the end of each quarter. In the other games, University beat Inner Glow 64-15, and Souths accounted for West 47-33. Meanwhile, Junction and BNC also posted wins during their doubleheader. You like weather for Newcastle and the Hunters coming up.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
I'm going to buy that.
Into big business now, are we?
Nope, I'm quite happy with the small business I own, Louise.
Who are you banking with now, Bob?
Newcastle Permanent.
No, I mean your company banking.
Yeah, we're with the firm.
Didn't know they did business banking.
Well, they have done for quite some time now, Dad.
Oh, good move.
That's mine. Thank you.
Your business is in good hands with Newcastle Permanent.
They're our building society.
Wake up in the morning, gotta get my paper, 'cause the Herald is the best way to start your day.
To the weather now, and it was okay for Newcastle and the Hunter. And of course, it was true for Lake Macquarie. It was okay for Newcastle as well as for the rest of it. And of course, it was okay for Hamilton, Mayweather, Cardiff, Katoa, Lambton, near Lambton, Charlestown, and Adamstown Heights, as well as Bullaroo, Barnsley, and Edgeworth. and it was alright for Seahampton and West Wallsend and Cameron Park. And also it was alright for Curry as well. And also it was okay for Toronto. It was also fine for Wickham, Bar Beach and Cooks Hill, as well as Stockton. As well as Wallsend. And also it was fine for Raymond Terrace, Madawi and Maitland. Let's check it out what's coming up then. It was alright for Newcastle today, and of course it certainly will tomorrow. Of course it'll be really cloudy, but there'll be 95% chance of showers, most likely in the morning and in the afternoon. There's a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 15. There's a maximum of 15. There's 7 to 15 for both Newcastle and Wallsend, and 6 to 14 at Toronto. Now, to the Hunter, it will be cloudy for tomorrow, and it could be the same by Wednesday, as well as the next few days. And also, it will be 7 to 15 at Newcastle, 6 to 14 at Maitland, 6 to 13 at Singleton, 7 to 14 at Gosford, and 1 to 13 at Scone. Coastal waters information. The seas are the seas for tomorrow. There's a southerly of up to 15 to 20 knots, reaching up to 25 knots offshore, south of Norah Head early in the morning. The winds turning southeasterly in the early afternoon. The seas up to 1 to 1.5 metres, increasing up to 1 to 2 metres offshore south of Port Stephens, while the swell is southerly 2 to 2.5 metres. The high tide is at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, while the low is at about just about 6 minutes to 7 tomorrow. And of course the sun's getting up at 9 minutes to 7 tomorrow morning, setting at 5:06. And the outlook for Newcastle, it was really sunny, but there could be showers tomorrow, and also it could be like this for the next few days. While it was alright for Scone as well, but it could be a possible shower by tomorrow, and also it could occur in the rest of the Hunter. And it looks like there's going to be a lot of wet weather for Gosford and the Central Coast, and that means that the next plenty of days is going to be really wet at all. And that's about it for now. From all the latest news from NBN and also from all of us here, good night.